seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian at WhisperStatus74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you were seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. This is actually a quick comparison of some of the raised blacks, and I've been asked a lot about this on how it actually shows up on the LG CX C10 Oled. What you're seeing here is a comparison between the Sony A9S Master Series on the left and the 77-inch LG CX. I was doing some testing on my own, and this is a killer level on Modern Warfare. This is on the Xbox One X, and it's where some of the raised blacks were exhibited. Now, I'll show you the difference. I'm recording this after. You'll see the difference when you get into the very hard intro of this map, of the very first campaign level, where you can clearly see that the CX is a few notches brighter. Now, there is, where I will show you as I'm talking after, is in the very first level, you're going to get up, you're going to see where you walk into a room, which if you want to test your display for banding and or blooming, it's killer, because I feel like it's a part of the level like the developers forgot to complete. But as we drop here, we're going to actually get them to be the same color in a second. You can see they're clearly different colors here. But the OLED light dropping, not the OLED light, I'll show you which one I'm talking about. The brightness down a few notches actually takes away what you're seeing with the raised blacks, at least until there's a fix. This, again, is on the Xbox One X. Sony A9S Master Series is from Value Electronics. Special shout out to them. You can see I actually fixed the color. So special shout out to Value Electronics for the extended, allowing me to review the Sony A9S Master Series. But you can see how the color is now the same. And they do look similar. But you can tell that the CX is a tad brighter. And I don't mean bright in the way of specular highlights, but how its brightness is up a few different notches. Still looks fantastic on its own. But when compared to the Master Series, you can definitely see that the Master Series has more depth. It is darker. Now, this raised black level is a concern. I've done several videos on it. But, you know, this does show you how easy it is. And here I totally forgot to shoot these guys. How easy it is to kind of rectify for now until there is a fix. Now, in this first part of this area, I have done this video with a 950H as well. I'll show that next. You can see the, the impact on HDR on both of them. But as I pan to the right after this scene, you'll see it's a quick scene that I've played a million times that you just walk through. But I happened to turn around on the CX and I saw crazy banding. So what I did was follow up and to see if it was visible on the A9S, and it was, which was shocking, and the 950H, but it wasn't nearly as visible because the blacks were deeper. So we're seeing the HDR there. You can see how, the A9S has a bit of a deeper look to it. I'm going to redo this with the black level lowered. Now, as you look over here, as we walk into this area, keep an eye on those windows. It's clearly darker on the A9S. Now, there's no detail to really show in this level, or this part of the level, but it is a killer test on both LEDs and OLEDs. So kind of panning around. So you're going to walk into that first room, and instead of going out the door, look to the right. Coming back out. Popping back in. What's funny is over here I end up with some actual image retention on the A9S that was like, whoa. So you can see how it's clearly a few notches too bright. You can see the banding actually shows up. I was shocked to see it on the A9S, as a matter of fact. But showing you that some of these screen uniformity issues do pop up more. You can see some of the crawling blacks as well. Now this is it readjusted, knocking those brightness levels down. Actually, I'm going to knock them down right now. And what I'm showing you here is we're talking about the brightness, not the OLED light. We are in game mode. This is in HDR. It's perfectly fine if you want to venture out of game mode. And I'm just showing this. You can't see it's behind the TV, but it does show you notching it down a few. I believe this is from 50 to 48, maybe. Whatever it was that made it look almost identical to the A9S. And then we're going to go back in and you'll actually see how they look. But it's also common sense in some ways to see that you're going to have more screen uniformity issues, or at least more noticeable on the 77-inch. We're going to restart this level again. And what I did do is then compare this to the 950H. You can see how over the door, though, here, how the black level is very similar. See? Now, should you have to knock that brightness down a little bit, no, you can see a little image retention there. You shouldn't have to, but if it's one step to keep like this gorgeous TV, then, I'm willing to do that till they fix it. Now, you can also brighten things up. I like things to be very dark, especially, and this is a very quick scene, but I said this is a murderous scene if you want to try this on your OLEDs or even your LEDs. And LEDs, what it is murder, it has some banding, but you'll see crazy blooming in this level, or in this part of the level. We're keeping the content going every day. And here I'm going to show you that going into the actual calibration. You can see the screen uniformity on both of them. Doesn't look great right here. But 5% gray isn't exactly a strength for OLED. So all I'm doing here is just balancing them out. This was part of a much longer video that I'm piecing out because it got a little nonsensical. But you can see how, adjusting it a few notches, that gets them very close together. The A9S is going back in a few days. I can hold on to it as long as I want, but, I kind of don't want to hold on to these and just kind of move on with different content. But as you get them close, you can see some of the banding is still there. Again, it's a very hard stress test on this particular screen, or on particular. See, you can see the if you looked right there, you actually saw the screen retention. It disappears in a few seconds. But yeah, so in that first level, as you're introduced, you go to, after you blow up the base, go into the, instead of going out, go to the right and see how your TV looks. Now, is this whole thing blown out of proportion? I mean, that's a real issue, but kind of showing you how the A9S Master Series out of the box looks fantastic, but, you drop that, that brightness down a notch or two, and you're right there. And they look nearly identical. And the reason of showing the flames as we drop down here is you're not losing anything in regards to contrast or specular highlights. And see how similar they actually look. And up next, we're going to show the 950H in the same scene to show you how different they actually look in this scene. The strengths of both, where you do end up with some more shadow detail in this scene, but you end up losing it in another scene. Or you end up losing the contrast ratio. But it's interesting to see how close you can actually get them to look. Now, I also have a 55-inch CX that I should be lining them up together, but it's actually kind of hard to line these up side by side. And we're going to actually run this whole part. We can actually see down below. And this is an excellent test also because you go from dark, it begins to lighten up, and then the flames is where you can really see the HDR. Now, there's also a part here where you look up into, and you gotta be careful with games, is you'll see vignetting from the game itself plus your TV. So it's always tough to see. You can see how bright HDR is on both of those. And earlier in here, I was seeing some banding in the skybox, which is now gone. Now, when you see them side by side, two OLEDs, you almost don't appreciate the black level anymore. But when you do pair up the LED, you do see how the black level looks. It's caught myself on fire right there. And there's nowhere in this level where with either display I say to myself, oh, this thing needs to be brighter. You see the banding is just not, they are very similar in how they look. Again, we're eagle-eyed here. We're really focusing on it. And that little dithering you see, it's just the way the pixels look when you get close to it with the camera on OLEDs. And in this one scene, they both, again, that's just the dithering, but they both look pretty clean. So this was a quick video, only about 12, 13 minutes long, showing you how the raised blacks, you know, I will do a separate video showing how to adjust it, but that's the difference between an A9S Master Series and a CX out of the box. Drop that brightness down 2 notches, and you're good to go. Thank you as always. Take care.